Welcome back to the program. Of course, when we were off air, we were just discussing, we were just saying that sometimes you may think that politicians are building us when in real sense they are really dividing us. An example that was just being given by my guest here is that most of these companies that are collapsing, we mostly see government officials coming in and saying, this company has been here, these people didn't do anything, while in real sense it's not the government that is funding those projects. It's actually, they're actually just partners, but the main donors are international donors. So stay tuned to KTS and stay tuned to the program. Of course, we are discussing the President's sentiments on Jamhuri Day that international organizations are funding non-governmental organizations in Kenya to influence local politics. In my studio today in the show today is Mr. Philip Barnum, the chair, Civil Society of Kenya, of course, the North Rift branch. Stay tuned to the program. Mr. Barnum, there's this issue of public participation. Kindly tell us more, especially with reference to finance allocation.
I think the government put in place the public participation bill, whereby most of the public participation bill means that the government must be going to the people. There is no law, there is no bill that the government will really bring without going to the people, be it the county government or the national government. So unlike even up to now, most of the public participation bills for the national government has been happening in KICC. The counties, we know some of the counties have really done good. They are going to the wards, they are going to the locations. Most of the counties, we see them publicizing on the magazine, but the national government always publicizes on the magazine and send views. We don't know if those views are being taken. And two, the public participation bill tells the government to give 15% of the funds to go to non-state actors. Non-state actors, the civil society and the NGOs. Now that the government is castigating the NGOs, and yet the law says the NGOs are the one who do civic education. The laws are the NGOs are the one who educate people on public participation. So we are really asking the government, where has this money been since 2013 up to now? No money has been given to any NGO. And when no money has been given to any NGO from the government. But when the NGOs,
the 15%?
Yeah, the 15% have never been given, even in the counties. In our county, the bill is still in the county assembly. It's not been passed yet. So that at least some of these monies will be given. But when the foreign donors are now funding the NGOs to do what the government should have really funded to do, then the government is being jittery. So we really are amazed, and I don't know why we should be castigated, and yet we have said that we need to change the social welfare, and more so we need to change the economic conditions of the lives of the people of Kenya.
Okay, there's also the Public Benefits Organization Act 2013,
yes.
And the Jubilee government says that they want to see that this bill is actually amended. What do you think about that?
I think it's not the first time. In 2014, the government tried through the leader of majority, and it flopped. Sure. Because we thank the opposition because they came to our aid, and even some of the Jubilee MPs, especially those in hardship areas, northeastern and the other parts, they really refused, and they said the livelihoods of their own people. One of the MP from Garissa really said the livelihoods of our people depend on the NGOs, and if you remove the money from the NGOs, then the livelihoods of the people will not be there. So we know that they are bringing, and they might use tyranny of numbers. They might use money, but we are appealing to the MPs, and we are appealing to especially the opposition MPs to say that the Public Benefit Act should stay as it is when it was signed by Honorable President Kibaki, and it has been operationalized by the devolution minister, that is Honorable Kiunjuri. So we need the Public Benefit Act to stay at ease. Just what the government would want. We have the NGO Coordination Board. The NGO Coordination Board should put in place the bylaws to make sure that every organization is giving accountability to the government if they want to be.
Okay.
But for that reason, the NGOs are the best accountable organizations, unlike the government, because They are
Are you just accountable to your donors, or you are also accountable to the government?
We are accountable not to the government first. We are first accountable to the citizens, because the law binds us that when we are doing a project, we come to the village, we tell them we have been given 5 million, and this 5 million administratively we are to use 2 million, and 3 million will be used for ABCD. Is it for health? Is it for environment? Is it for social empowerment?
Okay.
And by the end of the year, when we sit with our boards, we are forced by our law to go back to the same people to tell them what we did at the end of the year, so that the people will really say, hey, we agree, you did 20 meetings, and that's the money you really used. You gave bursary to 100 children. You probably gave drugs or whatever to the people, and we give the copy to our international donors. So what remains, as I've said, is the NGOs to give a copy to the NGO board.
Okay.
But since up to now the NGO board is not in place, it's only the government that is really leading. The law says, I think we need to have five people who represent the NGOs, and we have other 5 people who represent the government, and and 2 PSs. I think PS for devolution and PS for interior ministry, which makes around 12. So the government has not operationalized the NGO coordinating board.
Okay.
And more so, we are not yet in good terms with the NGO board, because we've said the CEO of the NGO board is not qualified.
Oh, so the board is constituted by
The NGOs and the government.
Okay.
So it is not the board for the government, it is the board for our all. Before we had 7 and the government had 5,
Okay.
but they changed the rule to say that the NGOs will be giving 5, the government will give 5, and the 5 the government is giving is stipulated in that law. It's not only about government officers, it's given even somebody who understands accountability, somebody who understands the law, and then they have 2 PSs who will come from either Ministry of Interior and Ministry of Devolution that works with the NGOs to make sure that if in case of things, they will bring to that. So it is the NGO coordination board that will really check the NGOs, and not the presidency, and not any minister or any politician. So it is the NGO board.
So it's just a matter of different actors knowing their roles to play.
Yes, well, I said before, and let me repeat to say that the NGOs, the NGOs are put in about 3 or 5 thematic areas, but the 3 main ones are governance and advocacy. I think this is where the government is jittery, because we have so many NGOs doing governance and transparency. This is where we check the government. We have NGOs that are doing development, and I've said most of them are doing health, environment, education, and working with the children in the villages. And we have NGOs who are now doing civic education and awareness. So this is, I think the government is seeing this is the time now that most of the NGOs will be funded to do civic education. And I said before that the government should be giving money to the non-state actors to be able to do civic education, because it's not them to do. The law says it is non-state actors to do civic education.
Thank you so much, Mr. Badno, for that clarification. Of course, as of now, we cannot leave the fate of the act in the hands of the August House in the National Parliament. And should this act be amended, then it would be a requirement that non-governmental organizations publish annual audited accounts in at least 2 local daily newspapers with national circulation. You as civil society and maybe non-governmental organizations, are you ready to do that?
The amendments of a law, the stipulations of amendment of a law, if it's a private member's motion, which is the government motion, it is brought to Parliament. After it's been gone through the first or second reading, then it has got to go to the public. So we know that the same amendment act will come to the counties and the NGOs. We are there. We shall highlight and tell the people on what we really want to amend and what not to amend. 2, if the government wants us to publish, there are 2 things. I say that the NGOs are the most accountable, transparent and accountable organizations, unlike the government, because most of our accountability, most of the donors get hold of an organization like Price Waterhouse. Price Waterhouse is has integrity and knows how to do accountability.
Accountability.
So when we are accountable through the Price Waterhouse, every end of the year, it checks our accounts, it checks on how we do. When you have a proposal, you are funded. It is, we always say, we hear the government saying most of the times we are taking most of the money to administrative. Most of the funding for NGOs is 10%, should not exceed 10% for administrative costs.
All right.
The international organizations say it should be 10% and below for administrative costs. The others should go to the program. So probably the other things that people should know is that we have our accounts for all the NGOs that are funded have taken their accounts first to the community where they work, then secondly to their donors. So if now they want us to give to the government, we have no problem giving to the government, but publishing it in the papers, it will be a cost to us because you have to be forced to pay. Buying a page of a whole nation is like half a million. So we don't have that money to publish it, unless the government will give the space free. We are ready to publish, but otherwise we are ready to give our accounts to the government or the NGO board, as I say.
All right. And you said that you are an accountable group, but Mr. Fazul, of course, Mohammed Fazul, who is the CEO of the Non-Governmental Organization Coordination Board, says that the NGOs have not managed to spend most of the money they receive from donors appropriately. Like for last year, he stated that you people only used 87.6 million, I beg your pardon, out of 125 million, 125 billion. So how's the issue of accountability? How does it come in real sense, you don't use whatever is allocated for you people?
I think Mr. Fazul has not said that we misappropriated the rest because funding for the NGOs has timelines. Sure. Probably that's what we are saying. We are really accountable because Mr. Fazul will not have known that we have used 87% because every end of the year, I forgot to say that, every annual meeting when a board of an NGO sits, it must the law in the NGO board is that you must give your balance sheet. So we give all our balance sheets to the NGO board. So that's where Mr. Fazul now has known because when we give the balance sheet, we tell him this is what has been used. What has not been used is still in our accounts. It's not that we misappropriated because we might be paying bursaries to the children. So by probably October, when he was giving the accounts, many people still hold the money that they will pay the children or paying for school fees or paying for food or rather paying for salaries and all that. Which salaries we have not paid for salaries for probably they have not paid for salaries for November and December for their people. Okay. So it does not mean that the money has been misappropriated. Okay. It is in the accounts of the NGOs because let him look at our balances because there is a balance sheet. We give him the balances. We have used this and the balances in our accounts are this. And the government, I think, have a leeway to the accounts of all the everybody and even the NGOs. Okay. They need to look at it. Okay.
And Mr. Fazul also says that you people, the NGOs and the civil society, have spent substantial amounts of donor funding on administrative costs as opposed to channeling them into the actual projects. What do you have to say about that? Is it just a misunderstanding of what administrative costs are?
Yeah, I think Mr. Fazul, who is the CEO who gave out the information, is really misinforming the government because he's the CEO of the NGO board. He knows in each and every NGO, even its organization, what are administrative costs. Is it about salaries? Is it about traveling? Is it about refreshments? Is it about paying rent to the offices? Is it about airtime? So there are many administrative costs that NGOs incur. So it's not about, and there are two ways. There's administrative cost, which goes on implementing the program. Those ones we don't as I said 10%. We don't cost them on the 10%. The 10% I said is offices and salaries and stationary to the office. But the other cost that goes to when I travel to go to a village. When I buy trees to go and plant in a village. When I buy drugs to go to give to a mother or a small child. That is administrative cost, but it is on the program we are doing. Yeah.
But nevertheless, Mr. Barno, don't you people have, as NGOs and civil society, have safeguarding policies that states that maybe administrative costs are these, and then the actual projects are these?
Yes.
Do you have that percentage, or just a certain amount that we can say that this one goes to? Are you normally given these policies?
Yeah, we are given, not even the policy, even the proposals. Huh?
Because I think that is what Mr. Fazul has a problem with.
Yeah, he knows that because he has, the NGO Coordination Board has a constitution of every NGO. Okay. We give a copy of the constitution of every NGO to the NGO Coordination Board. So you should look at the constitution, and you should look at our accounts, where probably we say probably 10 or 15% costs should go to administration. And I'm happy because he knows that we have used probably over 80 something percent or 85% of the funds, because Mr. Vasul, as opposed to the government, most of the times we have been told that the government is unaccountable to funds have been lost. But now it's really making us proud to say that most of our funds, out of probably 120, we have used 87.6, which means we still have 20-something or 30 million, which is being held by the NGOs to do the programs before probably the end of the year. So he knows every NGO has an account, balance sheet. He knows that every NGO has an NGO. He knows that every NGO has a charter to be able to do. He knows that every NGO lastly also has principles to follow. And this is what the donors are for.
And there have also been a claim that these donor fundings may be a source of threat to our country, and maybe just some may also be source of misappropriation of funds. From where you sit as the chair, do you agree with this?
To me, especially if there is a misappropriation of funds, it is the donors who follow up the funds. Like they follow the government on the EU funds on the education. The donors follow their funds. So if you misappropriate the funds, you must return the funds. There's the court of law, there's the police and court of law. They will really take you to the court of law to return the funds. But for a threat, I don't believe that there is an NGO that is funded to do clandestine movement or to overthrow the government. Even no international government will allow the people to give funds for that, because you must write down the program. It is approved by the international organization. They have their people who do monitoring and evaluation, who come to the ground to see what you have done. They follow us every 3 months to see what we have done, and even in the end of the year. So there is a great follow-up on monitoring and evaluation. And I think they have a best tool on monitoring and evaluation.
Okay. And come to think of it, in the course of last year, was it last year or this year, when we had frequent Al-Shabaab attacks in Kenya?
Yeah.
There was a claim that there are some organizations that are funding those activities here in Kenya. So don't you think those are some of the reasons that makes the government feel so fearful in supporting the NGOs and civil society? To me, I think up to today, there is no NGO that has been approved to have done Al-Shabaab. Muhuri, which was the NGO that was in the coast, its accounts was closed by the government, but they went to court and they proved it to court, and they have been given a go-ahead to continue as an NGO. So they have never been proved. No NGO has been proved to have been facilitating clandestine movement like Al-Shabaab, threat to peace. If there was the government has all the machinery. They have all the machinery to know in an organization who is doing what is not wrong, and they are ready. They are given a leeway to arrest and take that person to the court. But to what I know, we follow principles. We follow our NGO charter, whereby we are supposed to be non-partisan, and accountable. All right. And what do you think would be the possible effects of amending the Public Benefits Organization Act 2013?
to us, we don't want the law to be amended because we participated. The NGOs participated informing it, and even when they went round, I have a document here which shows that they were here in Eldoret. The Public Benefit Act. They were here in Eldoret, telling the people about the act. They took the views of the people. They went to every county, the 47 counties. So we really participated, and we know what the NGOs wanted, and that's why it went and it was passed. So why any amendment? Who has brought up the amendment? The NGOs have not said it is bad. The Wananchi themselves have not said it is bad. It's about the politician. They see it as a threat because that in Kenya, and especially the politicians, they thrive in ignorance and poverty. So when people are ignorant, then they will tell the people, vote 6Ps. When people are poor, they will come with handouts and they will give the people and they will vote for them. So, but the NGOs really empower the people, and they know what to do, how to vote, because even in the voting, the government is saying they don't want civic education. People, I think, failed terribly in the last election because there were six ballot papers. Some of them were for the MP, they were putting in the MCA. One for the MCA, what they were putting in the presidential. So this is the work of the NGOs.
So that civic education is really important to our country.
Civic education is very important to our people, especially on empowering our people to know. Not all people, even we remember that even one of the voters, Professor Kamal, said she put one of our ballot papers in a whole professor, putting it in another box. What will happen to that mother in the village if a whole professor is really misses to put the paper in the right box? We need to empower the people. We need to do civic education. But the government is jittery, thinking that we are teaching the people on who to vote.
Okay. Yeah. And again, the CORD coalition has come out strongly to say that the move by some Jubilee allies to amend this bill is just aimed at sabotaging the critics. And you also say that you have been at the front line of the NYS issue, corruption issue. You've been at on the streets, and you've also seen CORD on the streets too. Yeah. And there's always been this claim that the civil society and the opposition are speaking in one language. So is this true, or?
Critics is critiquing the government is healthy, and I think every government welcomes the critics, and sometimes I've had most of the MPs and even some people in Jubilee says we are not against the opposition or the critics. So critiquing is not bad, but when we come together, the opposition and the NGOs, on corruption, on health, the 5 billion for health, for 791 billion for NYS. Is that a bad thing? We are telling the people, hey, your money is getting lost instead of, because the money should have bought drugs, the money should have bought beddings for the hospitals, should have paid the doctors and nurses who are now on the streets, but it got lost. So if the opposition, if we come to one mind, the NGOs and the opposition, it does not mean we belong to the opposition, but we are on one agenda, on transparency and accountability.
From where you sit as the chair of the civil society, of course, the North Rift, the Uasin Gishu County branch, do you think this country is ready as far as the next general election is concerned?
I think we are very far. The country is not ready because we don't have the commission, we don't have the chairman, we don't have the commission, procurement for goods and issues in the IBC. To us, we understand that the executive in the IBC should not procure without the IBC. 3, information, education, and civic education to the people is far away. There's no money. We don't hear that there is no money. We have seen that they want to now have clerks to go and to register people for voting. Yes, that is good, but are the people educated? The civic education should go ahead. So we really think that there are things. We have heard that the KPMG has been taken to probably to vet and audit the register. Is KPMG an organization that can audit an election register? We have those organizations that probably have audited in other countries. So they should have taken other organizations that are capable of auditing the register. so that we know the people who have really registered. There are people being said that they died or they have not registered and their names probably are in the registers. So I think the government, the IBC, and even the opposition should work hand in hand to see that the next election, which is on 8th August, should really come in place.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip Barno, the Chair, Civil Society of Kenya, Uasin Gishu County Branch. Thank you so much, viewers, for staying tuned to the Street Talk program. I've been your host, Regina Orlando. Let's meet again next Monday, same time. God bless you.